I don't know if Mr. Taylor's coming back. Just let him in. All right, so mine is on like trusting God with my career and my life. Sorry. I went into this trying to trust God with my career and my life ultimately. So about a year ago, I signed up with the Air Force. I was 17 and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just thought that it felt right. So went into it, signed up, took the ASVAB. Hopefully, like, that's the academic side of it, and I was hoping that that would slim down my choices, I guess, on what career I'd want, but it didn't. I ended up getting any career I wanted except for one, and then going to MEPS, which is the Military Entrance Processing Station. That one is all the physical side, so that could disqualify me from certain jobs as well. Some stuff did go wrong, but it ended up getting figured out after about 3 times going back. And it's about a 24-hour process where you go the day before, around 4 o'clock, you stay the night in a hotel, and then 4 in the morning you're up and they're poking you with needles and trying to figure out anything that could possibly be wrong with you. So like I said, first time I went, something didn't match up and I had to go 2 other times. But we got it figured out and I was still qualified for pretty much any job. So about a year ago, Mr. Spector asked us what did we want virtue-wise. And I was in the middle of this process and trying to figure out what career I wanted. And this was like a 6-year deal. So whatever I signed up with, I had to be able to enjoy at least a little bit for 6 years. So yeah, he asked us what we wanted. Trusting God came right to my mind. Turns out I signed up for 5 different jobs. Security forces, which is the police, and fire protection, which is a fireman, which seemed like a pretty cool job, and then 3 others that I really just did not want to get. So went into that, and after talking to my recruiter though, I found out about special forces, and there was something about that sounded a lot more like me, but the only catch was I had to qualify for that before July 19th, which was my ship date for firemen. So I had to pass the PASS test, which is the physical ability stamina test. You have to do some swimming, some running, push-ups, sit-ups, chin-ups. And if you don't pass the minimum requirements, then you don't get in. And so from there, I trusted that God would give me kind of an idea of what I wanted, and he gave me a career that I did want and felt right. But then I had to trust that I could pass and actually get into it within the deadline. And so I started training for that. I'd never swam before, maybe just recreationally or just for fun, but never swimming laps. So I started that, and then we were in this process with Mr. Spector trying to develop virtues, and he had us kind of come up with some kind of activities that we could do to kind of develop our virtues. And so what I came up with was first a solo, where that was going to be 24 hours. I wanted to do it here in Colorado, but it was way too cold and it was just going to be miserable. So decided to do it over Christmas vacation where we were out in Florida. And at first I was kind of imagining jungles and fighting alligators or sleeping up in a tree. But what I got instead was not a resort, but it was like some guy's house. I wasn't gonna go in, like I set some boundaries. I wasn't gonna go inside. I only had a Bible, a journal, and a pen, and some water. And so I figured like maybe it'd get tough if I didn't have food. Turns out not really, but it was just this guy's deck, the beach, and then the water. And so I went into it thinking, well, this is gonna be super easy. It's gonna be nice. But after about an hour, I found out that you can only build so many sand castles before you just get bored. So what I ended up doing was I found like a little embankment of sand, and I dug out a little chair, and I just ended up staring out over the waves for maybe 2 hours, and then I took a little break, remembered that there's nothing else to do, so I went back and I just stared out at the ocean. And so, yeah, staring out at the ocean kind of is for 4 hours just brings so much stuff to mind, and something that really kind of struck me was how big God is. Like, thinking about how immense the ocean is, or you swim out to the buoys and you don't know how far down the ocean goes, and that's only like a portion of it. And yeah, you look out there and you just see kind of like the world drop off. So yeah, just thinking about how big God is to create that, but then how intricately, like, he can make fish, or he can make the seagulls. And so, let's see, I found a verse from Job 38. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you understand who marked off its dimension. Surely you know who stretched out a measuring line across it, and on what were its footing set, or who laid its cornerstone, while the morning stars sung together and the angels shouted for joy. So yeah, just going back to how big he is, and I had read a book about trusting God, and one of the things was you have to know God to trust him, because you're told not to get in a stranger's car, but if you know them really well and you know they're a good person, you'll get in. And so with trusting God, I'm not just going to throw my life to someone I don't know and don't trust. So that kind of started this. And then so from there, I started putting together a J-term, a parkour J-term that me and Jeremy had been wanting to set up before, and then this project came up. So it seemed like the perfect opportunity. So we called the gym across the street the cheerleading gym, and they ended up never really getting back to us. So then we tried Jeremy's gym, and they said they'd set up a time, and so we would try, and we could never get it figured out. Ended up finding out that their classes were full and we wouldn't be able to get in. So by this time it was Christmas, and I was over in Florida, and kids are already signed up, and we had to have a place to practice, and it looked like the weather was going to be bad, but I just started praying for good weather, and we called as many gyms as we could, tried to put stuff together, but everything would either fall through or just get a no. So from there, I just started praying. There's nothing I could do, and I just enjoyed the rest of my Christmas. Incredibly though, 3 days before we went back home to Colorado, I got an email from my old gym, and they apparently had been closed for the holidays and didn't get my email until later, and turns out they were going to let us use our gym for free, and it is one of the best gyms in not only Colorado but the United States, and they're just going to help us out. So that in itself was just crazy. So then we went into it, and I had a plan of what it was going to look like, but it didn't always go very well. Thankfully I had Jeremy with me, and yeah, through this whole thing I've just learned so many other virtues, not just trusting God, but how to just kind of let Jeremy take over if he knew what he was doing, or if I didn't have a plan, yeah, just being able to go with stuff. So yeah, that was one of the other ones. And then, right, so then I learned all this stuff, but it's not going to get me anywhere unless I can apply it. And so with my career, it's one of the most demanding jobs in the Air Force. It's like just right out of the gate, I was talking to Cronin, my past test guy who administers the test, and he was saying if you hit the minimums, great, but you have to go way past that, or else you're not going to make it past INDOC, like past 2 weeks. So I had to start training for that. I had to trust that would work out. Because yeah, some guys will get in there and they'll realize that this has only been 2 weeks and I have 2 more years of this, and they drop out. Or they'll kind of have, well, the first year is all physical, second year is more EMT stuff or educational, and guys by that time kind of have stuff going on back home that they need to get to, or just life gets busy. So that was something else where I want to be able to go in there and just know that God wants me to keep going, wake up the next day, push out another day, even if it's not going well. And and then like if I make it through all that, then I have 4 more years of going in. And what pararescue does is if like a pilot goes down in enemy territory, or if there's a special ops group like the SEALs or the MARSOC, if they're out there and something goes wrong, then pararescue's the one that goes in and medically helps them and gets them out. And so I have to be able to, like, even under fire, just go out there, do what I need to do, get back, and not even think about it. Just know that I'm in God's hands, and whatever happens, happens. So, yeah, and then even after that, once I get through that, then I'll need to be able to trust Him with, like, starting a family or a future career. And this is definitely something that I'll have to use for the rest of my life. So, yeah, let's see. Just something I want to challenge you guys with is, if there's anything that you have that you like stressing you out or something, if you could, just let God help you, because He cares. He's a lot bigger than everything, and He created everything. Just being able to hand stuff over to God, and like being able to, you wouldn't be able to do it without Him, I don't think. Or it would be really, really tough without Him. Just if you can learn to trust God with something. And then another verse I found was, like, this was with David. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine. Saul said to David, "Go, and may the Lord be with you." There are giants in life, and without God, who's much, much bigger than any of that, life would just be so much harder. And even with like the little stuff, it adds up. That's what I learned.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Joel?
Yeah.
Question. So I think during your project, or at least part of your project, you were supposed to interview or talk with different people in your field, or someone who you thought would help you to understand what it meant to cultivate the virtue of trust. Right? Did you interview some people? Were you able to do that?
I did, yeah. So, like I said, I talked with Cronin, who kind of like laid out what all would be going on. And then I talked to Benjamin, who actually is a PJ at our church. So I got to talk to him a lot about that. And he said if you can just settle into it and not think about the next day, because he said what some guys would do is they like worry about the workout the next day as they're taking that day's workout, and they just get overwhelmed and drop out. So if I can keep it, like, just focus on my day, take it one step at a time, and know that, God wants me there, then it'll just make it so much easier.
You mentioned your friend Jeremy. Is he going in with you?
No, he was thinking about going Marines, which he's gone with the Young Marines when he was younger and knows a lot of that stuff, but not sure exactly what he wants to do yet.
Well, you also mentioned trusting Jeremy, your friend, on some skills that he has that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the principles of most of the military corps, that when you're involved in a project or in a mission that involves other teammates, you have to learn to trust each other.
Mm.
And you trust God and you trust the others.
Yeah.
When did you think about starting the FRCS?
When was that? I think it was, well, we wanted to do it like the year before even, but we never tried hard enough to get Wall's attention. I think we maybe started it 2 months before, and then we got kids to sign up on time. But yeah, like I said, like we didn't find a gym until later. All right, thank you. That was like way short.